Some moments linger in the depths of your mind, haunting you like shadows, silent yet ever present. 2 years have passed since that fateful day. 2 years since the world as we knew it was irrevocably altered. What was meant to be a straightforward beach trip with my son Leonard quickly unraveled into something far more complex. My husband Felix was absent once again, just as he always was. Work had always been my priority, a constant in my life, and I had grown accustomed to the solitude that accompanied it. But that day it was anything but ordinary, a feeling that lingers even now. We unfurled the towels, the sun blazing down, its heat almost overwhelming. I sank into the stillness, a profound sense of liberation washing over me as the clamor of the world faded away. I turned to Leonard, my voice barely above a whisper, and pleaded for his help, yearning for the soothing touch of oil on my aching back. I never hesitated, not for a moment. He's my son, my boy, why would I even question it? Initially it was merely a touch, just his hands reaching out, offering assistance. But then I sensed it, the way he lingered, descending deeper and deeper, and I found myself unable to stop him. Why didn't I intervene? Why didn't I put an end to it all? You believe you understand who you are, who your family is, yet there exists a singular moment, a pivotal instant, that has the power to dismantle it all. It was on that fateful day on this very beach that everything changed for me, and I have never been the same since. Felix and I had shared the journey of marriage for more than 15 years. To those who observed us, we were the embodiment of a flawless couple, a picture of harmony and love. A charming house stood proudly, filled with laughter from good kids, while the rhythm of a steady life pulsed through its walls. Yet, the fractures remain hidden until you step beyond the surface, deep within the confines of the walls. Only those who inhabit the void truly sense its chilling grasp. 4 years, Felix's job consumed his every waking moment. He toiled endlessly, poring over his work in the dim light of late nights, sacrificing weekends and holidays to the relentless grind. I often convinced myself that his actions were for our sake. The long hours, the unwavering commitment, all for the future he envisioned for us. A life woven together, a dream taking shape for our family. Yet, as time drags on, the fabric of that tale begins to unravel. What value does a home hold when it stands empty, echoing with silence? He no longer saw me. As he stepped through the door, his gaze barely brushed against mine. He ceased to inquire about my feelings, my desires, my needs. Our conversations were clipped and sparse, revolving around the mundane details of bills, groceries, and the children. He cherished Leonard and his little sister Isla, yet even in their company, he felt like a lingering shadow, always just out of reach. He stood in the shadows, a mere specter of himself. I often found myself at the table opposite him, consumed by the haunting question of whether he even noticed my presence anymore. That morning I stood in the kitchen, the air thick with anticipation, as Felix rushed out the door, leaving a whirlwind of energy in their wake. With a swift motion he seized his briefcase, pressed a gentle kiss atop Isla's head, and cast a fleeting glance in my direction. Apologies, Freya, but I won't be able to join you today. A sudden urgency arose at work. I remained silent, not a word escaping my lips. I nodded as I always did, but this time my throat felt constricted, a silent storm brewing within. I convinced myself it was all right. Leonard and I could venture out on our own. At just 16, Leonard stood tall and lanky, his brown eyes mirroring his father's, yet his face held a gentler softness that set him apart. He remained silent, his gaze fixed on the ground, even when I whispered that it would be just the two of us. He had come to accept that his father would always find a way to disappear when needed most. With a casual shrug, he seized the bags and trailed behind me to the car. He sat in the passenger seat, earbuds snug in place, his gaze fixed on the world outside the window, lost in thought like so many teenagers before him. A smile crept across my face, unbidden and bright. He was maturing at an alarming rate, and there were moments when I feared that if I blinked, he would vanish from my grasp forever. The journey to the beach stretched on, each mile blurring into the next, as anticipation hung thick in the air. My thoughts drifted, as they so often did, to Felix. Memories flooded my mind, those cherished movie nights, the endless walks under the stars, spontaneous trips to nowhere, driven solely by the thrill of adventure. Memories flooded my mind, each one a vivid reminder of his gentle touch, and the spark that ignited in his eyes at the mere sight of me. A sensation long forgotten surged through me, awakening memories buried deep within. Nothing stirred within me. Exhaustion weighed heavily on me, a relentless shadow of invisibility that clung to my every move. At long last we reached our destination, and Leonard lent a hand, guiding me to a secluded nook by the shimmering water, where we could catch our breath and absorb the moment. I spread the towels across the sand as he anchored the umbrella against the relentless sun. A sudden urge surged within me, compelling me to reach out to him, though I couldn't quite grasp the reason behind it. Perhaps it was the haunting solitude that enveloped him, the stark realization that he stood alone in that vast expanse. Perhaps all I truly craved was for someone to listen, to truly hear my voice in the silence that surrounded me. Isn't it exhilarating to step outside, to feel the world around us? I forced a smile into my voice, attempting to sound cheerful. He nodded slowly, his fingers brushing back his hair with a sense of quiet determination. Absolutely, Mom. It's truly wonderful. I sank onto the towel, the sun's warmth enveloping me, seeping into my skin like a comforting embrace. Time stood still as I remained frozen in place. I surrendered completely, as if I were attempting to shed the burdens of the past few years, if only for a fleeting hour. But then a flicker of realization struck me, the oil. I jolted upright and fixed my gaze on Leonard. Could you assist me in applying this to my back? I inquired. The distance feels insurmountable, a barrier I cannot cross alone. His gaze lingered on me for a fleeting moment, a flicker of uncertainty dancing in his eyes, before he finally reached out and grasped the bottle from my hand. I sank back down, my face pressed against the towel, and waited in silence. The initial contact was soft, deliberate. His hands trembled with uncertainty, as if he feared causing me pain. A smile crept across my face, a fleeting echo of the days when he was just a child. When he grasped my hand tightly, guiding me across the bustling street. Back then, his hands were so small, delicate like the fragile petals of a flower, holding the weight of a world yet to be discovered. You can press a little harder, I urged him, the tension thick in the air. My voice was swallowed by the shadows. Everything will be all right. He listened intently, his hands becoming more resolute as he worked the oil into my shoulders and glided it down my back. As I shut my eyes, I sought to immerse myself in the warmth, surrendering to the captivating rhythm of his touch. For a fleeting moment, I surrendered to the pleasure of it. The weight of solitude pressed down on me, a stark reminder of the aching void left by the absence of human contact. That realization struck me with a force I was reluctant to acknowledge. But then I sensed his hands gliding lower, deliberately, tenderly, tracing the curve of my back. My breath hitched in my throat, and I parted my lips to speak, yet silence enveloped me, leaving no words to escape. Thoughts surged through my mind like a tempest, yet I remained mute, holding my secrets close. I tried to convince myself it was all okay, that he was merely lending a hand, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But deep down I knew the truth. I wasn't imagining anything at all. His hands lingered just above the threshold, teetering on the brink of where my towel lay, a breath away from crossing into the unknown. His hesitation hung in the air, palpable and thick, mirroring my own uncertainty. Yet, instead of halting him, I found the words spilling from my lips. Everything will be all right. You can explore that area as well. The words lingered in the atmosphere, heavy and toxic, and as soon as they slipped from my lips, I realized there was no way to retract them. Leonard remained silent, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. He pressed on relentlessly. I clenched my eyes tight, a shiver racing down my spine as I felt his hands on me, lingering in places they had no right to be. My heart raced violently, each beat echoing in my ears, a frantic drum that felt as if it might betray me at any moment. A fierce urge surged within me to move, to rise, to demand that he cease, yet I remained frozen in place. I was unable to do it. I allowed it to unfold. Even now the reason eludes me. Perhaps it was the suffocating weight of solitude. Perhaps I was driven by an insatiable longing to be desired, even if it meant crossing the line. Perhaps, just perhaps, I had reached a point where nothing mattered to me any longer. On that fateful day at the beach, a shattering occurred within me, altering the course of my life forever. As we journey deeper into this tale, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude for your unwavering presence. Thank you for staying with me through every twist and turn. Your willingness to listen means a lot, especially when the truth is hard to bear. If this video captivates you, or if you know someone who might resonate with my story, I invite you to pause for a moment. Hit that like button and subscribe to join this journey. It fuels my passion to continue sharing tales like this, reminding me that I'm not alone in this vast expanse. With a determined nod, we plunged back into the fray. After that day at the beach, everything changed. The weight of it all pressed down on me, an undeniable force that demanded my attention. The vivid images replayed in my mind, and Leonard's gaze lingered, heavy with unspoken words and secrets yet to be revealed. It was more than a fleeting glance or a brief encounter. The rhythm never wavered. Each time our gazes met, an unsettling shift flickered within him, an enigmatic quality that I hesitated to label yet found impossible to ignore. I attempted to bury it deep within the shadows of my mind. As we stepped through the door that evening, I fought to maintain a facade of normalcy, every fiber of my being urging me to conceal the turmoil brewing within. I prepared a feast for the evening. I inquired of Leonard about his experiences at school. As the clock ticked into the depths of the night, I found myself folding laundry, my hands trembling with an unshakable tension. Every moment replayed in my mind, a relentless loop of events that I couldn't escape. His hands brushed against mine, lingering with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine, igniting a tension that coursed through my entire being. Self-loathing consumed me, a dark shadow that twisted my heart, and he was the architect of this torment, forcing me to grapple with the bitter feelings I harbored for my own flesh and blood. Felix remained blissfully unaware of the world around him. He stumbled through the door, the hour late as always, his tie hanging askew, exhaustion etched across his weary face. His lips brushed against my cheek, a fleeting whisper of the warmth that once lingered there. The day had dragged on and I found myself yearning for a spark of dialogue, a flicker of connection. With a low grunt he nodded, his feet already carrying him toward the living room, the air thick with anticipation. It had always been this way. His presence lingered in the air, a shadow of something that should have been more, an echo of an afterthought that refused to fade. Once more I was enveloped in a shroud of invisibility. That night I lay in bed, my eyes fixed on the ceiling, the soft sound of Felix gnawing beside me creating an eerie backdrop to my restless thoughts. The house lay in stillness, yet my thoughts roared like a tempest. Thoughts of Leonard consumed me, his hands and his piercing gaze haunting my mind. A sense of unease washed over me, a whisper in the back of my mind that something was amiss. A sense of urgency gripped me. I realized I had to put an end to it, whatever it was, before it spiraled out of control. Yet lurking within me was a shadow, a deep-seated loneliness that yearned to cling to it, to savor the attention, the caress, the intoxicating sensation of being truly seen. As the days slipped by, an unsettling silence enveloped Leonard, his lips sealed tight, withholding the words that hung heavy in the air. Yet, in the stillness, his silence roared with unspoken truths. He didn't evade me, not in the truest sense. Instead, it felt as though he lingered even nearer. His gaze would linger on me as I stirred the pot, wiped down the counters, or curled up on the couch in the stillness of the night. And I allowed it to unfold. I let him go. I pressed on, unable to hold back. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the next weekend arrived, shrouded in anticipation. The heat enveloped the house like a suffocating blanket, each breath a struggle against the oppressive warmth. Felix had vanished, off to handle some final shadowy business, leaving Leonard and me in solitude once more reminiscent of the past. I leaned in closer and asked him if he wanted to return to the beach, just the two of us, where the waves whispered secrets and the sun painted our memories golden. Uncertainty gnawed at me, a shadow lurking in the corners of my mind. I couldn't fathom the reasons behind my actions. Perhaps I believed that stepping into the open air would unravel the tangled thoughts in my head. Perhaps I sought a challenge, a way to confront the depths of my own resolve, and see if I could cast everything aside. The drive unfolded in an eerie silence, a stillness that wrapped around the car like a thick fog. Leonard chose to forgo his earbuds, leaving the world around him to unfold in its raw, unfiltered form. He sat there, staring out the window, his knee bouncing with an anxious energy that betrayed his inner turmoil. A desperate urge surged within me, compelling me to shatter the oppressive silence that hung in the air. Yet, each time I tried to speak, the words lodged themselves in my throat, refusing to escape. As we arrived at the beach, a haunting stillness enveloped the scene, the sand stretching out before us, nearly deserted. The water shimmered in a deep, captivating blue, while the wind danced across my face, a gentle whisper of freedom. I unfurled the towels once more, mirroring the familiar routine, while Leonard lent a hand, his presence adding a sense of anticipation to the unfolding scene. This time I didn't request him to apply oil to my back. I was unable to do it. Instead, I lay there with my eyes shut tight, crafting a facade of tranquility while chaos swirled around me. Yet, even with my eyes closed, his stare pierced through the darkness, an unsettling presence that lingered in the air. A shiver ran down my spine as I sensed his gaze fixed upon me. It was later that afternoon when the true breaking point arrived. We made our way to the beach showers, the salty breeze wrapping around us as we prepared to wash away the day before heading home. What was meant to be a swift rinse, merely to wash away the lingering grains of sand from our skin, quickly spiraled into something far more profound. Yet, in that moment, an inexplicable event unfolded before me. As we arrived at the showers, Leonard was the first to step beneath the cascading water, allowing it to flow down his back like a soothing embrace. I lingered in the shadows, observing him intently for a heartbeat before I finally made my move and stepped into the fray. A surge of impulse washed over me as I shed my outer layers, standing beside him, the cool water embracing my skin like a whispered secret. Leonard's gaze locked onto mine, his eyes wide with surprise. Silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken emotions. Was it surprise, confusion, or something deeper? He stood there, lips sealed, lost in a world of his own, leaving the moment charged with tension. I turned my gaze toward him, truly examining his presence, and boldly suggested, "You should take off your shorts too. Ensure you rinse thoroughly." Uncertainty gripped me as the words slipped from my lips, leaving a lingering echo in the air. Perhaps I sought to demonstrate my own power, to show that I could bring this to a halt, or maybe I was pushing my own limits. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes, but then he surrendered to the moment, sliding his shorts off with a deliberate, almost electric tension in the air. And there we stood, entwined in the storm, the rain cascading around us, erasing the world beyond our connection, leaving only the raw intensity of our emotions laid bare. I turned away from him, my voice barely above a whisper, "Help me with my back." Without hesitation, he stepped forward to assist me. His hands moved with the same careful precision as before, yet the palpable tension in the air was unmistakable. A pulse of connection surged between us, a deep resonance that echoed within my very being. As his fingers brushed against my waist, a jolt of electricity coursed through me, leaving me momentarily paralyzed. The air grew heavy, wrapping around us like a shroud, while the relentless roar of the water consumed every other sound. There was a moment, a fleeting choice, where I could have turned my back, where I could have put an end to it all. But instead I leaned back, drawing nearer to him. I grasped his hands and drew them to my chest, and in that moment he remained still, not pulling away. The events that followed remained beyond my comprehension. I refused to elaborate. In that fleeting instant, a whirlwind of yearning, isolation, and an unnamed sensation enveloped me. It struck with a fierce intensity, sharp and unyielding. It was a fierce struggle, filled with longing and intensity. It was a mistake in every conceivable sense, yet I found myself powerless to halt its course. I was reluctant to do it. As the final echoes faded, we remained frozen in place, the relentless downpour drenching us, erasing the signs of what had transpired, yet leaving the undeniable truth intact. He embraced me in that moment, a grip so profound and unfamiliar that it shattered the years of solitude, and I surrendered to it completely. In the silence that followed, words hung heavy in the air, unspoken and unresolved. We shook off the remnants of the water, gathered our belongings, and made our way back to the car, the air thick with unspoken thoughts. I observed Leonard from the periphery, his cheeks burning with color, his body rigid and tense. In that moment, a chilling realization washed over me. I had shattered it all. In that moment I realized we had stepped over a threshold that could never be undone, and yet, an exhilarating rush coursed through me. awakening a long-dormant sense of vitality. The journey back was enveloped in an eerie silence at the outset. The car enveloped us, its cramped confines suffocating, as if the very air conspired to weigh us down. My hands clenched the steering wheel, knuckles white as I fought to keep my attention on the road ahead, but my thoughts whirled chaotically, threatening to pull me under. The memory of Leonard lingered, his hands tracing my skin, his body pressing against mine, the heaviness of our shared moments enveloping me like a shroud. My eyes kept darting toward him in the passenger seat, drawn by an invisible force. He sat rigidly, his gaze fixed on the window, a flush creeping across his cheeks, his jaw clenched in tension. Suddenly, from the depths of silence, his voice broke through the stillness. "Mom," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, laced with uncertainty. I averted my gaze from him. I found myself unable to do it. Yet I caught his voice. "What is happening? What just unfolded back there?" My heart raced, a sudden jolt of adrenaline coursing through me. For a fleeting moment, the thought of feigning ignorance crossed my mind, of dismissing his words, of diverting the conversation into safer waters. Yet, the facade had crumbled, leaving no room for pretense, especially after the choices we had made. I drew in a trembling breath and replied, "I don't know." It was the truth, or perhaps the most authentic semblance of it. Uncertainty enveloped me, a thick fog of confusion. I was lost, grappling with the shadows of events that had unfolded beyond my comprehension. All I understood was that the world around me had transformed completely. Silence enveloped us, stretching on like a taut string, until the moment we finally rolled into the driveway. I switched off the engine, yet we remained frozen in place, caught in a moment that felt suspended in time. Leonard finally turned his gaze toward me, truly seeing me for the first time. For the first time, a chilling revelation flickered in his eyes, sending a shiver down my spine. It was neither confusion nor guilt, nor even the weight of shame that lingered in the air. A deep, aching longing filled the air. "For how long have these feelings consumed you?" he inquired. His words pierced the air, sending a shiver down my spine, for I had been grappling with that very question myself. In that moment, as I gazed at him, it felt as if a dam had shattered within me. "I don't know," I murmured, my voice barely escaping my lips. Perhaps longer than I cared to acknowledge. Silence enveloped us, a heavy shroud in the darkness as we sat together, lost in our thoughts. I believed that was the end, that we would step inside, attempt to erase the memories, and act as if nothing had ever transpired. Yet, Leonard's mind was swirling with a different vision. Just as I reached for the doorknob, he leaned in, capturing my lips with his in a sudden electrifying kiss. It began gently, a tentative touch, as if he feared I might retreat. Yet I chose not to. As our lips met, I surrendered to the moment, kissing him back with a fervor that ignited something deep within me. In that moment, everything spiraled beyond my grasp. Was it the crushing weight of loneliness, the scars of years spent in neglect, or the way Leonard's gaze pierced through me, igniting a spark that had long been extinguished? Yet I allowed it to unfold. Right there, outside our house, Leonard drew me close, his hands gliding over me as if they were meant to be there. A surge of vitality coursed through me. A surge of belonging washed over me. A wave of recognition washed over me. For the first time in years, a weight lifted from my shoulders and nothing else mattered. Time slipped away as we remained entwined, lost in the warmth of each other's embrace, until the pull of the indoors beckoned us to move. The details of the walk to the door are a blur, yet the sensation of his hand enveloping mine lingers vividly, the silence around us crackling with an electric tension. Silence enveloped us. We had no reason to. Once we crossed the threshold, the tension surged, spiraling into chaos. It felt as if we had been restraining ourselves for an eternity, and now the dam had shattered, unleashing a torrent of emotions we could no longer contain. The following days slipped into a haze, each moment blending into the next, leaving only a sense of disorientation in their wake. Leonard lingered near me, his presence electric, always seeking opportunities to graze against me or catch my gaze when the world around us faded into the background. I would urge myself to halt, to retreat, to sever the ties binding me to this tumultuous affair. Yet, each time my gaze fell upon him, I was met with a reflection of the profound loneliness that echoed within me. We stood as reflections of one another, each echoing the same yearning, the same void that consumed us. And I found myself unable to refuse. I was reluctant to take that step. In the stillness of the night, I would lie in bed beside Felix, my gaze fixed on the ceiling, captivated by the rhythmic sound of his breathing. I found my thoughts drifting to Leonard in the next room, recalling the warmth of his hands and the way he ignited a spark within me, making me feel vibrantly alive once more. And then I would shut my eyes, the guilt coiling in my chest like a serpent, ready to strike. A sense of inevitability washed over me. I understood deep down that this moment was fleeting. Deep down, I felt the weight of my actions pressing against my conscience. Yet I found myself unable to pull away. The air crackled with unspoken words, thickening with each passing moment, until it reached a breaking point, erupting in a storm of emotions. The hour was late, shadows creeping in as the evening deepened. Felix found himself immersed in the familiar rhythm of work once more. As Isla lay in the depths of slumber, Leonard and I found ourselves in the dimly lit kitchen, the air thick with anticipation. As I scrubbed the dishes, the rhythmic clinking of porcelain echoed in the silence, a desperate attempt to drown out the chaos swirling in my mind. As I sensed his presence looming behind me, I spun around, and there he stood, gazing at me with the same intensity he had on the beach. "Leonard," I whispered urgently, a warning lacing my voice, but he pressed on, oblivious to the danger that loomed ahead. He moved in, his presence enveloping me, and I could sense the warmth of his breath brushing against my neck. "Mom," he breathed, his voice barely a tremor in the stillness. "You haunt my thoughts, an unshakable presence that lingers in every corner of my mind." I stood motionless. My heart raced violently, each beat echoing in my chest as if it might explode at any moment. I felt an urgent need to command him to halt, to retreat to his room, to just let me be. Yet I chose not to. Instead, I gazed up at him, my heart racing, and uttered the one thing I knew I shouldn't have. I find myself unable to break free as well. In that instant, the world as they knew it shattered into a million pieces. Leonard's lips crashed against mine once more, a fervent urgency igniting the air between us. And I pressed my lips against his, surrendering to the moment. I felt no remorse for the choices I made. My thoughts were consumed by indifference towards Felix, Isla, and the life we had painstakingly constructed. He was everything to me. Leonard, my beloved son. They were the sole beacon in my life, the one who made me believe I truly mattered. Ever since that fateful day on the beach, nothing has returned to the way it once was. In truth, I doubt they ever will. Leonard and I crossed a line, a boundary that remains indelibly etched in my mind, no matter how fervently I attempt to deny its existence. A fleeting moment has spiraled into a force beyond my grasp. The guilt lingers, a weight that presses down relentlessly, yet it fails to deter me. And that's the part that sends a chill down my spine. Every day I gaze at my husband, Felix, and my daughter, Isla, and a question gnaws at me. How can they not see it? They remain oblivious to the fractures silently weaving through the fabric of our family. Perhaps they are so entangled in their own existence that they fail to notice me fading away. Or perhaps I've simply mastered the art of concealment. Yet, in the shadows of my mind, a haunting truth lingers. This moment, this fragile bliss, cannot endure the test of time. Secrets possess an uncanny ability to reveal themselves. And when that moment arrives, the aftermath will obliterate all that exists. I've fought against it, but the urge lingers like a shadow in the night. Time and again, I've whispered to myself that this path is fraught with peril. Leonard truly deserves so much more. I am worthy of so much more. Yet, with each brush of his fingers against my skin, each gaze that pierces through the chaos around us, I find myself unraveling, consumed by the intensity of his presence. He ignites a spark within me, awakening sensations I thought were lost to time, perhaps even forever. And that's the truth I must bear, a weight that shapes my every breath. I'm at a loss for how to resolve this. Uncertainty gnawed at me, a relentless whisper in the back of my mind. Could I truly mend what was broken? And that's the reason I'm unveiling my tale to you. Perhaps there exists a soul beyond the shadows, holding the key to a question that has eluded my grasp, a revelation waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps you hold the key to unraveling this tangled web I've woven, before the shadows close in for good. I urge you, if you possess any wisdom, if you've navigated a similar storm or know someone who has, I am eager to hear your stories. And if nothing else, let this serve as a dire warning. Loneliness can drive you to the edge of the unknown, leading you to paths you never imagined you would tread. Beware of the shadows that can swallow you whole, just as they did to me. Don't allow your reality to shatter before you grasp the truth of what's unfolding around you. For once you step over that threshold, retreat becomes an impossibility. Your attention is deeply appreciated. I invite you to share your insights. Show your support for this video if it guided you on your journey. Join us on this thrilling journey and stay tuned for more adventures ahead. I must feel the presence of others, to know I am not isolated in this vast expanse. In the shadows of our own hearts, the most profound betrayals often lie not in the actions we take against others, but in the silent treachery we inflict upon ourselves. Home.